how that works. Actually, my cat's attacking my feet. I'm gonna be right back. One sec. Alrighty then. Let's do it. Trap versus time. Let's get Trap's nameplate up here. Alrighty. So this was the one of the quarterfinals from the Olimoleague last week. You can always find the replays yourself for a small fee on the Patreon, patreon.com/Olimoleague. And you can always find the Olimoleagues live, usually 90% of the time, on Maynard's Twitch channel. Or Crank's, if that is your usual go-to, I guess, is Korean. But it's an excellent resource, and usually has some damn good players. Been a little light on the Terrans, though, past couple of months even. But I am personally excited to cast this one. I'll get into that after I introduce the players. It's a best of 3 in the top right on Zen. Default first map. They did not choose this. It is Trap. And in the bottom left, as the blue Terran, it is Time. And this is the last map pool's iteration of Zen. So the new one has rocks here instead of minerals here. But other than that, pretty similar. So anyways, Trap is basically the best Protoss at PvT. He just makes some very, very, very damn good decision making. Alongside all the usual requirements of a pro gamer, which is good macro and good micro and good build orders and so on and so forth. We get it. But it really should not be understated how good at this matchup he is. Time, still a little bit, not unknown, but he needs to kind of be hyped up every time you bring him up. Because he's had a couple of top 4 finishes at this point, like literally a couple. He still has some infrequent showings. And that's because, one, StarCraft doesn't have that many offline tournaments, unfortunately. So, yeah, you can do well in Montreal, but then your next event is Austin. Like, I don't even know actually what happened after Montreal. Or, like, for this year, okay, just like that's a better example. For this year, it's Katowice, right? Which is like 4 months, 5 months after. But on top of that, Time, unfortunately, one of the bystanders affected by the coronavirus. China was not letting... Actually, I'm not sure if China was not letting people out of the country at that point, or it was just wiser of him not to go because he couldn't go back to China if he did. One of the two options. But the point is, he and a couple other people from China were unable to actually attend Katowice, which really would have been a very good showcasing for him, because I think he could have easily gotten, well, maybe not easily, but I think he definitely could have gotten into the group stage around 24, and then probably could have made some things happen to at least disrupt the usual order of things. You know, actually bump a Korean out who shouldn't be bumped out type of thing, but we just didn't get to see him. So he just hasn't been in the spotlight often enough, but his skill is definitely there. His PvT, I mean, or in this case TVP, it has its problems. He does seem to have a preference for some older styles of playing, I'll call them, but he is still a very good player. So it's going to be Trap, who is the PvT god, against Time, who still needs to prove himself. basically every time we see him until he wins a championship, I guess. But the micros so far, pretty good for the Reaper. This is awkward. This is just a whole awkward situation right here. The Adepts can't really do very much. They could stop the mining here for a while, but eventually a Cyclone will pop out and shoo them away. And the Reaper is just able to not only get a couple of probes, but I believe it also got the Scout. Oh, it didn't actually. It was stopped short. Needs to get the Scout on the Stargate, but you know, we've seen 2 Adepts on the front lines, an Adept defensively. You put all this together, and you're probably guessing Stargate. Should be a very good guess. Lock-on was just used, but the Oracle's not going to take a chance. Not going to dive on top of a Cyclone. Time does go for a Cyclone into a tank and a Viking as well. All very defensive against a Stargate play, but also something that can be used to go across the map. And all he has to do is lower the depot here to let his units through. I actually don't think a tank could fit through that, so I take that back. But he could try and go across the map and do something. It doesn't really work out as well as it used to. But Time would be the type of guy to do that. As I was saying, he has some of like the older ways I've seen PvT played out. More about those 2-base tank pushes that are super dedicated. More about like SEV pulls than other Terrans. Not just kind of the stock standard. Either, you know, 1-1-1 into 2 additional racks, or, in the case of IEM Katowice, a lot of 3CC builds. A lot of them were showing themselves for that tournament. And they were letting people back. Yeah, it was one of those. Zest best PvP, Trap best PvT. Who has the best PvZ? No one, because Zerg's broken. Ha! I'm just kidding. I actually have no dog in this fight, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Nah, Parting definitely does not have the best PvZ. Parting is surprisingly good for the situation he's in, you know, having come back, being a streamer most of the time, so on and so forth, but I don't really think he has the best anything. Maybe he has the best cannon rushes, I don't know. He's probably like 3rd or 4th best at a lot of things, though. So I'm not trying to discredit him, but just to have the best something is quite difficult to do. A couple units already going down is a great start here for Trap. He doesn't have many options to deal with this. He's got triple Oracle, which will go down with a combination of Viking and Marines. And he's got a couple of Stalkers, which even the unsieged tanks are doing well against. And this is the push I was talking about. So Time decides to go for it. Behind this, you don't have a lot on the way. No stim, you know, not quite yet anyways, no combat shields. But if you do a lot of damage, hell, you do a lot of damage, right? Those things can follow after. And by getting up into this natural already, this is bad news for Trap. His Stalkers are getting obliterated. They're actually kind of choked in here. The Oracle's trying to take care of the tanks. Not too bad there. That's a good idea, but the Viking takes them out pretty quickly. The Marines get on top of them. Both tanks are taken out, but 18 probes have died, and this feels like just way too much damage. Trap not able to stall out this push enough, and then letting it into his natural. It's not even that it got up on his 3rd base. He actually let it into the natural, up the ramp, through the choke. That was already pretty bad of him to do. You do have very limited options when you go for the Stargate, especially if you go for the triple Oracle. I've always said this, I'll say it again, a 3rd Oracle, that's literally the same amount of money as your Robo would be. All right, and what do you want, a Robo about to crank out an Immortal or a 3rd Oracle in that situation? Or hell, 2 extra Stalkers, you know, whatever, right? But that's what can sometimes happen. And a 3 Oracle thing can defend it, but I was going to see if you could do anything better. So we can all be edumacated. So yeah, he does like I mean, he tries to catch the medevac, forces the unload, catches a Cyclone, loses a Stalker though. So actually that's a 1-for-1 trade there. The Oracle also doesn't get any zip zaps on any extra units. The Stalkers are actually so keen on just simply running away. They don't get any extra Marines here. And unfortunately, maybe a couple of shield batteries actually would have been better. Maybe you delay your upgrades a bit. He has charge and +1 on the way. He actually, oh, I was gonna say he should have more gateways, just 1. Jesus. Actually, looking at his macro here, looks like Trap messed up his macro a little bit, banking 400 extra minerals. He's trying to use it now by building even a 4th Oracle, but it looks like maybe he messed up his macro a little bit. Not something quite common to see from these guys, but it happens. All right, next up we have Triton. Yeah, Triton. Probably supposed to cursing, yeah. 2020 is a bad year for competitive sports. It's a bad year for anything that requires people to get together. I mean, even the music industry is going to be hit. I mean, isn't there some, like, insane statistic about how much money artists actually make off of, like, things like Spotify and all that compared to what they actually make through CD, well, not CD sales, CD sales, album sales and live performances? Isn't live performances and tours just like a super big percentage of what they make? And now they can't? At least we're not worried about a world war now. Yeah, you know, thank God for that. In the bottom right as the blue Terran, it is time. And in the top left, as the red Protoss, it is Trap on Triton. Time taking that game number 1. Zen is kind of a brutal map. You know, you took away... Time couldn't go through his own natural. Or he did go through his own natural, didn't he? Anyways, the point is... Can a tank fit through there? I do so few tank pushes, I actually don't even know. The tank fit through Trap's side of it, so obviously it can fit through there. So regardless, what I was going to say is that even if he didn't use his own shortcut, because the supply depot was there, Zen is the shortest map. If you're able to go from natural to natural, it's the shortest map. Only by a couple of seconds compared to, like, Nightshade, I think, is the second one, or maybe it's Ephemeron or something like that. Whoops-a-daisy. Thanks, Wood and Medevac. That's what he did. Also, I wanted to point out, but I forgot to last game, not only did he use his Medevac, like, loaded with the tanks to get over across the map faster, which makes a lot of sense. Literally, they're faster, and also you skip through the stupid mineral patches that suck on Zen. God, they're the worst. But he also was using them to try and, like, chase after the Stalkers, it looked like, for a second there. When the Stalkers were retreating, he was like, I'll boost after them and get some extra damage. This guy's pretty cool. He's got some good macro. Micro. His macro's good, too. Oh, wow, that's a rally. That's a shift quick. All right. But yeah. Yeah. If you can just go ahead and jump over those mineral patches, then it's a very short map. So it's kind of brutal for an attack like that. Trap is, in my mind, always going to be a Stargate player as well, but his PvT, I think, is most impressive when it's a Twilight Council opener, and that's exactly what he's doing. I was like, where the fuck is it? The natural, that's a bit weird. Kind of helps against Hellions, I guess. But time not to playing too loosely. He's got the bunker. It's a high ground here on Triton, but definitely safer to have that bunker. He's keeping his Reaper alive to get an actual scout later on. And it looks like he will be going for... Actually, I'm not gonna call it yet. He could have gone for a 1-1-1. He might swap this off, but you don't usually. So Cyclone tank. Because he still hasn't gotten any sight on what his opponent's doing. He's seen an Adept. And then he saw a Stalker, though. So definitely not the same build as last game, right? Alright, he's going to swap that off. So, Banshees. Thank you, Radier Rez, for the Hosterino. I hate when they want to use ad blocker, actually. My friend posted a couple of articles from the Washington Post that were kind of... They seemed very clickbaity, and I wanted to read more because they just were so clickbaity that I wanted to prove the clickbait title wrong, and in doing so, I gave them clicks. Damn it. Anyways, they required me to get rid of ad blocker, and I was like, well, F you too, man. Thanks, man. Yeah. So it is going to be Banshees. So I was going to say, like, the only reason you would actually swap this off is to get those fastest Banshees possible, which is exactly what he's going to do. If you're going for a Raven, you just let the Tech Lab out onto a starport and you get the Raven then. But yeah, Banshees as fast as possible into the tanks afterwards. And another tank push, it seems, for our boy Time. Banshee's very good at distracting, letting the tanks get across the map. Triton, actually, a fairly large map because it kind of winds. You have to go to your third base before you even start to actually head on over to the other side of the map, really. Actually, third CC. You could do a push, but be very dedicated, would it? Third CC is going to be scouted by Lucine Phoenix. Actually, pretty cool Lucine Phoenix, too. You don't have to go for a sentry. You could actually go for, like, non-stop stalkers if you wanted, but definitely not the case here. He went for a sentry. Didn't need to use it for anything early game. He goes for Lucine Phoenix. It's a lot of really good information early on. The observer will get that backup information. See, for instance, if an attack is on the way. But really, it's about the third base and getting your upgrades, which we've really gone into using a single forge version of this build away from the double forge. That was like so common. For a while there, it was like every PvT Twilight Council double forge. But the observer, I was just talking about it. Where the hell did it actually go? You got one observer over here, one observer in the main, actually, because he saw the Banshee. Well, that makes sense. Well, the Banshees have done their job then. They've distracted Trap away from being on the front, trying to find any push like this and stall it out and pick off any Marines. And they've also stopped the observers from going across the map to even see this and tell him about it. So this is already a bit scary. The tanks are in position. Now, Time actually letting his Marines get really far forward there. Yeah, that actually was not the best option, I think. I think more so protecting the tanks. He does bring a couple SCVs with him, but there is a third CC behind us. Never forget, semi-combat shields are on the way. His bunker is probably never going to finish. More so just about blocking out any zealots that could appear, but it's not even any zealot-based armies. Just all stalkers, a sentry, and an immortal. Banshee's going to the main base, starting to wreak havoc as they bite through the shield battery energy. It takes a little while, but they can do that. And 10 probes have gone down. An immortal went down. I believe the sentry also died. Ooh, nah. Barely did not. That Time made sure to get that immortal before it could walk away, crab walk away. So still a pretty nasty hold, but it is a hold. And when you have 3 bases with Chrono and you did keep most, if not all, your stalkers alive, like you still have a lot of control of the game in this situation. Your probe count's not the worst. It's still mostly saturated, even though the number difference isn't as much as it could have been, I guess, between you and the Terran player. And the stalkers can still control the map until Sim is done. So picking off Marauders, picking off follow-up pushes if they're so bold, picking off medevacs, all very important things right there. She's taking a very aggressive stance on that natural. Lost a couple of stalkers. Charge is now on the way, something that he did push off for a very long time. I was actually going to note that he went for a very fast Templar Archives, but that was when the tank push happened, so there was priorities, you know? He also accidentally goes for a third forge, but we won't mention that. But yeah, his Templar Archives was surprisingly fast. It is usually blink right into charge, and then charge usually helps a lot with dealing with those tank pushes. The problem is that, you know, charge isn't quite done. Those bunkers, as I was talking about, were supposed to hold up any zealots that were warped in. They're usually a good option against tank pushes, but they can be tricky. Yeah, he went for Templar Archives instead really fast. Just got, you know, Mortal barely in time, and a lot of stalkers in good position. They just blinked right over those bunkers, didn't they? So, charge is only just now on the way. Instead, we have what I would say is pretty fast Storm. There's the ebb and flow of the metagame that always changes things up, but for a long time, it was all about the gateways and double upgrades, as I was saying. And then it was too obvious to go into Storm. They were already going to go into a Ghost Academy, so why would you go for Storm when they already have Ghosts? But now we're back to going into Storm immediately after the gateway opener here. And then actually in this specific game, Time has not gone for Storm. Sorry, EMPs. The anti-Storm, if you will. Losing a tank right off the bat, actually getting surrounded in the Storms. Hitting actually a lot of units, but not enough. Trap, a little bit awkward in that engagement right there, but a couple of Zealots dealt 7 SCVs worth of damage. The War Prism will be cleaned up. Trap, did he take too awkward of an engagement is always the question. He did save a lot of his High Templar. Most of his Stalkers seem to have gone down, but now he's replaced them with a bunch of Archons, and his upgrades are able to finish. And I thought that third Forge was a mistake. shows what I know. He's actually using that damn thing. He's going for triple upgrades. That is very expensive. That is so damn expensive. Because shields is an expensive upgrade just in and of itself. We'll see if it works. Time's on his way to 2-2, but nowhere close to finish, and his Ghost Academy is only just finishing. So he won't have the Ghost upgrade, he won't have the actual Ghosts, and that is something that he absolutely needs right now. The Ghost would do excellent against his army, not just take away the Storms, but also against the Charge-Outs and the Archons, and even popping the Immortal Shields before they truly get involved in the fight. This is exactly what EMPs are good against. And it's usually what's already either added into the Terran arsenal or is being added in, as we see here. And why you see some Protoss try and go into double Colossus, because actually affording double Starport and Ghost is, well, it's really difficult to afford, even on a fast third base, which Time had a pretty well-timed one. Well-timed one. When I was listing, I said Spotify. I almost said Groove Shark, which is just a thing like no one uses anymore. EMP Shockwave on the way. Still has a healthy number of tanks to block out any attempt for Trap to pounce on him. Zealots being queued up to the bottom left are going to be kind of nasty as Time moves in to take the attack. 2-2 is almost done, but not quite. I believe Trap is on 2-1-1. Okay, with upgrades on the way. Fourth AC looks like it should finish. 2 EMPs already used, though, it looks like. He's got 5 ghosts, but I don't think they're all on the front lines. Preemptively splitting here. This is a tough army for Trap to take on. And actually, Trap is also supply blocked. One Storm trying to hit the heart of the army. Forces a stim and a repositioning. The tanks are forced to change directions as the army from the backside comes in here. Storm trying to hit the heart of the army again, but it's not even about the Storms, really. Everything in this army for Trap was doing so well against Time. The Immortals punching through the Marauders. The tanks not getting amazing damage done because they were just being bombarded by Zealots or by 2 different directions where they're very unideal. And all of Time's army wasn't really, attacking at once because it was forced to choose sides, left or right. And they had to avoid the Storms as well. Trap's army it's just so powerful. But a couple EMPs could absolutely change. A couple Widow Mines also could absolutely change. It's something that Time is now adding in. Perhaps those could have been out sooner instead of those tanks, but he's going to try and micro against the Zealots to the best of his ability. Upgrades are about to finish here. I think one already did. A 2-2-1 here for Trap as Time is trying to get to his 3-3. He wants to be baited into the Widow Mines so bad, but Trap is not falling for it. Liberator's covering his 4th, is holding the line right now, but Time's down by 30 supply. And he's also running out of ghosts. Liberator's going to try their best. Stalkers actually... They actually put themselves on the front lines to take as much damage as possible, but the army of Time is just too small anyways. And they also kept the army still so a Storm could hit. GG. Trap obliterates that army on the front side of his 4th base. And I want to see that. I want to see that again. How did that happen? Yeah, I use Google Play Music. Alright, so this was the first awkward engagement, right? I mean, that is a pretty good Storm. And he saves the Storms as well. But he, loses the Stalkers, and he's like, you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care about Stalkers anyways. And then there's the big kahuna. So only 2 Widow Mines. He actually misses his EMPs. If EMP Shockwave was done, he wouldn't have missed those 2 High Templars. And then there's 2 less Storms to worry about. Again, not that the Storms did a massive amount of damage. The Zealots come in with a concave, so the Widow Mines don't really do the maximum amount of damage. The tanks aren't really firing on, more vulnerable units. They're attacking a Zealot, they're attacking a Zealot. Then they start attacking this army over here. So all the Immortals are, kind of untouched. You even have some War Prism Micro coming in. Looks like they're High Templars, yeah. So get some more damage done there, but we have 3 Immortals, 2 Archons, 3rd Archon on the backside. Time just doesn't have enough firepower to kill this fast enough. And as I said, it didn't seem like his whole army was really attacking at once. So, I mean, look, like this entire army actually wasn't really involved with this left side fight. It was mostly involved with the right one. So very awkward on Time side of things. GG. Trap just getting a very strong army, but really playing like a different type of style than I think we'd usually expect with that opener. Usually it's a lot of emphasis on the Stalkers. It's a lot of emphasis on just as much gateway units as possible with a faster fourth base. And then, sure, maybe you go into Storm. Maybe you go into Colossus. But usually you still keep your Stalkers alive. Usually you still only have double upgrades, not triple. And usually it's more control over the battle. Over the battlefield, over the map. But that kind of quickly turned into just like, well, faster storms, right? Trying to do some damage. And then a lot of just, you know, big armies collapsing in on each other. There wasn't a whole lot of masterful positioning. Time did his push to Triton's third, well, fourth actually, versus Protoss. In that particular game. And, Trap had enough to defend it. Not a whole lot, like, that was actually all, you know, all by the time the Stalkers were all gone. They played no part in that last battle. It's just cool little ways that you can change things up. And Trap's certainly good at that. We're on Nightshade for the final map. The top left, it is Trap. On the bottom right, it is Time. Nightshade would have been Time's map choice. The last map would have been Trap's. That's how it works in the Olimoleague. See Iron Warsmith. Title was second in Napster. Oh, I don't even know what title is. I always felt like I was so late to the party when it came to music things. Because like, when everyone else was learning their music tastes and, like, listening to 90s/early 2000 pop, I was listening to the Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and then everything else was, like, oldies. I really missed out on, like, Beyonce and Rihanna and Destiny's Child and Eminem, Britney Spears, whoever did Genie in a Bottle, like that entire phase of songs, which also coincided kind of with like the burst of the internet and pirating and Napster and all that. Like, I just missed it entirely. I just listened to like the radio, no joke. I was an old person. Didn't even get my first iPod until the iPod was actually, like, uncool. I think I got one of those, like, MP3 players that looks really dumb now and was pretty faulty. And then I didn't actually get an iPod. Yeah. Until my brother gave me his. Yep. I was behind on the time, guys. Talking so hard. It's behind on the times. Depth harassment's always annoying, but you know what? Time actually built a Hellion. And the Hellion plus a couple of Marines is kind of perfect for this type of harassment. So you can either get a really fast bunker, or you can get a Hellion and continue producing units out of your reactored barracks. This one's maybe a little bit scary of an option in case the Marines die, and then suddenly there's 2 Adepts on top of your 1 Hellion, and then like, oh god, what's happening? But it actually works out fine here for Time. You get some scouting with the Hellion, which is really no longer necessary. Seeing 2 Adepts is like a little concerning, but he does have a Cyclone on the way. And he has more Marines on the way as well. He even buys more time with the Hellion, which barely survives. And with seeing 3 Adepts in total, you gotta figure it's a Stargate, so he actually has his units positioned to try and help against an Oracle wherever it may go. Because that's the trick. It could go to the main, could go to the natural. Either for the SCVs or for the army. So you had to be careful. It was a little moment in time that can be scary, but it wasn't. Time knew exactly what the dangers were. Now he has all the units required to handle it, Cyclone and Viking, basically. And it's going once again into medevac and tank, so again, a tank push. Cyclone has to be careful. It will die to this combination of units if it doesn't have its lock-on. Its lock-on comes on a little bit too late, and the Oracle takes the victory there. Viking is still around, and the Viking does kind of hard counter the Oracle at this point, with the change in the armored tag for the Oracle, but now he's going to deal with multi-pronged attacks with very few units, so this is still very annoying. A tank is helpful and is unlikely to die even to 2 Oracles. They actually just cast Revelation and say that's that. Trap must be thinking back to the first game and how that went. He knows it's very likely Time's going to do that again. In fact, I think he actually sees it. He might not have actually seen it, but I'm pretty sure he knows about it. So he's going to get absolutely no attempt on killing any units from the get-go. At least on Zen, he had killed a Cyclone. The Adepts are barely going to see... I think they might have seen that. They may have not have, actually. Adept Shades do not see what they used to. The attack incoming is a little bit awkward. Yeah, he is forced to split just a little bit there. It's a single tank, not double tank this time, and not even carried by the medevac. But this is actually jumped on top of very, very quickly. Trap already with a 4th Oracle and getting a huge surround there. Made this so different than that first game. That was a slaughter. Time looked like an idiot for trying to do that. But he put himself into a position that was very easily surroundable. And Trap, as I said, probably already had an inclination that that's what he would try to do, because it can be very strong. I mean, it can look like that first game, or it can look like this game. You know? That's what it is. Behind this, you can try and play out the game into a macro game, and maybe you get something good, like a couple nice Widow Mines, or the Protoss overextends, or something like that. But it is very tough from here on out. I had a Zune HD. I don't think I had a Zune. I don't remember what mine was called, though, but it was like, it kind of looked like a blue pill, you know, like a long, like a bigger than a pill, but basically pill shaped, and it was blue, and I think it had a clip, so you could go, like, walking with it. God. I remember handling my friend's iPod Shuffle and thinking it was just so futuristic and cool. iPod Shuffle? Yeah. It was like the cheapest version of an iPod you could get. And it literally, all it did was literally shuffle. You could not choose the song you wanted to play on it. It was so crazy that the iPod Shuffle was like the most popular thing, and it just literally took away your choices. Oh well. Anyways. Yeah, Time's gonna be in a bit of trouble here. His stim isn't the worst times. Thank God for that 21-second boost, right? But you just lose all control over the game after your push is denied like that. Do you have much control over the game if you don't do that push? I mean, maybe not. But, you know, maybe you actually have faster stim and faster 5 barracks or a faster 3rd CC instead of doing that push and having it fail miserably. So him doing a 2-base all-in, I definitely understand it, but is it going to work? That is the question. This is a very effective all-in against someone who only goes into charge and blink, and who is either trying to get to, like, 1 Colossus, or, yeah, just is purely depending on those gateway units. But against someone who actually has Storm, Storm is the perfect counter to any SCV pull. It's stronger than Colossus, it's stronger than Mass Gateway, and oh my god, Time literally just ran head first into the Storms, because he already knew he was dead anyways. Behind this, a Warp Prism got into his main base and truly sealed the deal on this game. That was so bad. I mean, good god. But yeah, first engagement, I'll go over it again. First engagement just does not look very pretty. It just don't. As I said, Trap, if he didn't actually see it coming, he should have known it was coming. And yeah, he's already getting his 4th Oracle. He does like try and scout it, but he doesn't actually scout it, so I'll fix that. And this still isn't a lot of units, but it is 1 less tank. And it is such a better concave. On Zen, he was choked in by the map. He was choked in by his own structures. It was bad. But this, he gets a full surround. He has 4 oracles. You can't target fire those down quickly enough, as they chop up all those Marines. And the bunkers are literally useless. I mean, they really didn't do anything. In fact, they might have helped the concave. I know, it's just... Ouch, keepables. And when that happens, you know you're in deep shit. So why not just all in? I mean, this was even without combat shields. Like, these Marines really had no chance. I just want to watch the storms again. Make me suffer! Up, 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 oh, oh, no. The exact words going through Time's head right now. Warp Prism comes in. Terran GG's out. Yeah. That was some nasty weather.